What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part today. I am so excited because I figured, you know what? Why not have a Greek movie marathon? And to start things off, we're going to be taking a look at a movie that is both poetic and epic at the same time. Troy. So a little bit of background about myself. As a kid, I was always interested in Greek mythology and Greek history. And Troy was always one of those stories that I was always fascinated whenever my history class would cover Homer's Iliad. And I was always bewildered in learning about how Achilles was essentially this perfect warrior. And then learning about the Trojan horse, I can only imagine how it looked like in real life. So this movie is pretty much a culmination of all my childhood imaginations brought to life. But anyway, the movie came out back in 2004, and just looking at the cast alone, you can tell that they got the best of the best. When you have Brad Pitt as Achilles, Eric Bana as Prince Hector, Orlando Bloom as Paris, Sean Bean as Odysseus, and to wrap it all up, you have Brian Cox as Agamemnon. Now, one of the things I loved about the casting of the film is that even though it opens up with Achilles, the story then shifts its focus on Prince Hector and does a great job balancing the two characters, while at the same time surrounding them with supporting characters that drive them forward. For Achilles, you have Odysseus, who kind of serves as the middleman between King Agamemnon and Achilles, who really do despise one another, which is the complete and total opposite when you see Prince Hector, where he has Paris and King Priam at his side, who really do have his back and are willing to do whatever it takes to protect their kingdom and family. And I love how from beginning to end, the movie does a really good job balancing the focus between Achilles and Hector by showing us their differences. For Hector, he's fighting this war to protect Troy, as opposed to Achilles, who's only fighting this war just to fuel his legend of being known as the greatest warrior to ever exist. But despite their differences, they do have one thing in common: honor. Because for every moment these guys go at odds with one another, there's also a moment where they show some sort of amount of decency and respect where they allow the other one to recover. Which brings us to the battles, and oh my god, they go all out when you see thousands of Greeks charge against thousands of Trojans, and then you see them smash against one another like rocks on waves. It's pretty epic, especially when you get the wide angle shots of these armies clashing against one another before zooming in and getting some more up close and personal shots just to see the chaos unfolding in front of you. And shout out to the makeup department, because holy crap, I was horrified as a kid when I saw these people get cut in half by swords and then get impaled by spears and arrows. It's pretty gruesome, and I love how the fact that they use real people on real sets. Granted, some of it had to be CGI because they don't have like thousands of soldiers, but the fact that they use real actors on real sets using real practical effects, it makes these battles more believable. But anyway, going back to Hector and Achilles, throughout the movie, the tension between these two men has just been building until we reach the point of no return where, yeah, these guys are going to have to fight, and by the time we reach their showdown, we've already grown so attached to them and known their strengths, their weaknesses, and what makes them human and what drives them forward, to where we really don't know who to root for. And when we see the fight at the front gates of Troy in the hot sand underneath the sun, you can feel the heat coming off of their armor and the sweat dripping down their faces. And when you see the wide angle shots of them using spears, you can tell that they have some distance between one another. But once they draw their swords, we get up close and personal on some precise strikes where, oh my god, these guys might actually kill each other. And I love the overall tone of it when you have the small, subtle music playing in the background before getting to the more dramatic scores, when you see that, yeah, these guys are eventually gonna die, and wow, it is something on a whole other level. Now, looking at the third act, which focuses on the Trojan horse, holy crap, the movie does a terrific job in bringing something that we've only read in history books to life on a scale unimagined when you see the size of this horse. And I love how at first the movie views the horse as this big spectacle, but there's also a sense of dread and horror because we all know what's about to happen next. And oh my god, the music and camera work hand in hand with one another when you see thousands of Greeks storm the gates of Troy, as you feel a state of helplessness, while at the same time, the scene also feels tragic and poetic when you see what happens to the remaining characters as Troy literally burns to the ground. So even though this movie is a lot to take in, I still had a lot of fun with it because it really does feel like the poems and stories that historians have read for hundreds of years. And that's mostly because the filmmakers were able to blend real sets with practical effects and visual effects to a perfection. And at the same time, I really did enjoy the soundtrack because it's so mesmerizing and hypnotic as you feel like it's pulling you into this world. So overall, I had a great time with this movie, and if you're looking for something to watch that's poetic and epic at the same time, I highly recommend you watch this film. Well, that's gonna do this video, guys. That was my overall review on Troy. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button so you can always updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.